What? No, thank you. I'd like a drink. You want to give me a drink, please? Thank you so much. Okay, everyone ready? Okay. It's I don't know. First, we'll start with a joke, a story, a famous example. Moshiach, they bring about that we have to be ready for Moshiach. There were two brothers that were fighting between each other, and their father passed away, and they just stayed disconnected from each other. Thank you very much. Amen. They stayed disconnected from each other, and then came the wedding of the first grandchild, the son of one of the brothers, and he thought to himself, the right thing for me to do is to invite my brother to my son's wedding, and I know my father is going to be very happy with that. So he sent him an invitation, and the brother received the invitation in the mail, and it really touched him. But like a lot of people, like a lot of us, it's hard for us to forgive. And even though it touched him very much, it was still hard for him to give into that and to come to the wedding. So he had debates till the day of the wedding. Should I go? Should I not go? I should go because he sent me an invitation. He cares for me. I should really forgive him. Other side, like all the bad things he did to me, why should I forgive him? And he had that debate in him. It came the day of the wedding. He told himself, the good idea, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to sleep early. I'm going to go to sleep very, very early so that I should forget. I don't want to go. And even if I have a side for me that I do want to go, I'll go to sleep early and I'll forget about it. And that's what he did. He went to sleep early. You guys know the story? You know the story?
No, yes.
And he goes to sleep early, and the brother realizes it's something very, in Mirz Hashem, when we all become chassan and we'll get married, it's the high, it's like we are on a high when we get engaged, the wedding, whatever it is. But it's very, very important for us that family and friends should come. Every friend that comes adds in the simcha. So he realized his brother was not there, and he's in terrible state, and he tells himself, I remember that my brother likes the violin. So I'll send the violiner, I'll stop him and take him out of the wedding and send it to my brother's house, and he'll play violin outside my brother's house, and my brother will wake up and please God come to the wedding. And that's what he does. He takes the violiner and he goes together with the violiner, and the violiner plays violin outside the guy's house. He wakes up in the middle of his sleep, and Pasha walks out and just walks after the violiner and after the brother till he comes to the wedding, and he gives a big hug to the chassan, he gives a big hug to his brother. And the brother tells him, thank you so much for coming to my wedding. But why did you come with pajamas? The punchline is, Moshiach's going to come. The Rebbe said that's the last generation of exile, first generation of Gula, Moshiach's going to come. We must be ready. And must be ready means we got to prepare ourselves. Coming out of it as Kislev, we probably strengthen our connection by learning or by surviving the Golus, the two reasons why Chassidus was revealed. Or to survive the Golus, because the Golus is a terrible golus, and people can be dead people, a goof without a neshama. Well, the second reason is to be ready for what's going to be when Mashiach is going to come. So, in Hilchis Paraduma, something very, very important. I thought of speaking maybe today about Hanukkah, but at the end of the day, whatever we're speaking now is to come to tell us that even when we don't speak about anything we say in the most derech agav. Derech agav means not straight up. We're not speaking about Mashiach now. But let's say you're going to ask me a question. I'll give you an example. It says that Eliyahu Navi is going to come the day before Mashiach is going to come. He's going to come to Tveria where the base in Sanhedrin Agdela is, where the court is, and he's going to announce the Mashiach. Bnei Yisrael deserve Mashiach. What happens if Mashiach is going to come and the day before Eliyahu Navi did not come? So the Rebbe says, when Eliyahu Navi is going to come, you'll ask him, Tashbi, it says in the Teiku, like we say in the Gemara, Tashbi Yatar, it's Kushi is a Shailus. Eliyahu Navi is going to answer that, and Eliyahu Navi, one of his inyanim is to answer, to make a solution for the problems we had in Golus, we don't know the answer for them. So Eliyahu Navi was going to come, even though he didn't come a day before Mashiach is going to come, he's going to come and answer this question. So, when I mentioned that to you, the same sentence I mentioned that to you, I'm supposed to tell you also, and in Mirz Hashem, Mashiach is going to come very, very soon. In other words, even when I mention Derech Agav, I don't mention straight up about the waiting for Mashiach and expecting Mashiach. I have to mention the inyan, the point of we're waiting for it. And we're desperate to have Mashiach right away, speedily. And the Rebbe takes that, Pashut in the Halach and the Rambam. It says clearly about Paraduma. The Rambam lists all the paradumas, and then he says, the 10th one Melech HaMashiach is going to do, and speedily is going to be revealed, Amin Kin Yiratzin. The Rambam is a sefer, a book of halachos. The Rambam is not a book of irrigation, a book of feelings, where he's mentioning, guys, really, ask for Mashiach. He's mentioning halachos, he's mentioning when the 10 paradumas are supposed to come, he's mentioning that 10 paraduma is by Melech HaMashiach. Why is he saying at the end, and please God, Mirza Hashem is going to come very, very soon, speedily, be revealed? That's a point of the question. The Rebbe asked more. It's a long sikha, and we have a limited amount of time. That's all. So we'll explain the pashtus in the most simple way. Why was there's two things here? There's Meheda Yigale and Amin Kin Yiratzin. Meheda Yigale, it means speedily he should be revealed. One of the big deeds, the main fundamental deed in the deed of Paraduma is that from the Afer, what's Afer in English? The ash. You should put a bit away in the Beis HaMikdash. And it should be there forever and ever. Every Paraduma, you have to put away a bit of the ash and leave in the Beis HaMikdash. There's 10 Paradumas. The 10th one is going to be Melech HaMashiach, and he's going to make everyone pure. And then in Mirza Hashem, we know we won't need any Paradumas. Because the whole point of Paradumas is going to be Tumas Meis, people that bury people Koyanim, that because of their family members they became Tameh, so you have to purify them. How do you purify them? Through Paraduma, if the ash of Paraduma. When Moshiach is going to come, in Mirza Hashem, no one's going to die, everyone's going to live, so maybe we won't need that. So the 10th one is the Paraduma. So we find that the Rambam says the 10 Paradumas are 1. In other words, the 10th one is 10 out of 10. In other words, there's 10 Paradumas. So when I need to put from a Paraduma a bit of the ash on the side in Beis HaMikdash, if I'm missing one Paraduma, I'm missing the whole concept of the mitzvah of Paraduma. Because mitzvahs Paraduma are 10 paras. We won't get into that now. Why is it called like that? The Rebbe, he mentions it here. The Rebbe explains it. That 10 paras is called one big thing together. 10 paras together. So Mamela, when one part is missing, and I don't have from the ash in the Beis HaMikdash, so a big part of the mitzvah is missing. So Mamela, I cannot fulfill the mitzvah, so I ask Hashem, please reveal Mashiach very, very soon, so we can fulfill the mitzvah in the most complete way. Like every single mitzvah that we cannot complete now, it's something that hurts us. And we ask Hashem, please, make us the easy way to fulfill that mitzvah. Okay, so that's understood why we explain Meheda Yigala. Speedily should be revealed. The question is, why do we bring in at the end Meheda Yigala? That's like a nusach of davening. The nusach of davening was a few prakim before that, of halachas before that. The Rambam mentions all the davenings of the day. The Shkiddush Watzak, all the davenings, the Shemona Esrei, the Haidu, the Shtukin, the Zimra. In the middle of Paradum, why is he mentioning Inyan davening? It's not supposed to be mentioned here. Especially the Rambam is a Sefer Halachis. And Sefer, like I'm mentioning it again because they haven't mentioned in the Sikh a few times. The Rebbe says, you have to say that Bias HaMashiach is an Inyan Tmidi. Waiting for Mashiach is not just believing in Mashiach. In other words, who really believes in Mashiach? Someone who does everything to bring Mashiach. So when Mashiach did not come yet, something is lacking in our lives. Something is missing very, very much. So we really have to wait for it. We have to be in such a state that we have a tikva tmidis. We have a desire that Mashiach should come speedily. We cannot survive without it. Every second that he passes and doesn't come, we're missing from fulfilling all the mitzvahs and from missing from the big revelation of godliness. But the Rebbe comes to say here he's mentioning how a part of the mitzvah is missing. Mamela, we're asking Hashem, please bring Mashiach so that part can be completed. But the point is like this. Mehera Yigale would be enough to mention that part. If I wanted to mention that, listen, Hashem, I want to complete the mitzvah's paraduma. It's not completed yet if we don't bring the 10th one by Melech HaMashiach. So I say Mehera Yigale. Amin Kin Yiratzin comes to tell me that even when I'm reminding Mashiach, I'm mentioning Mashiach now. I'm not mentioning Mashiach as a way that I'm now praying for Mashiach, as a way that I'm desperate for Mashiach. I'm mentioning Mashiach so that I could fulfill the mitzvah paraduma. See, even in such a state, when I'm mentioning Mashiach in such a way, I must, it's a chiyuv tmidi, because something's lacking in my life, not just the mitzvahs paraduma, something's lacking in my whole leben, my whole life, that I'm lacking a big revelation of godliness in the world. Memele, I have to mention also, I want Mashiach, and I desperately want it. In other words, also when I speak about something that's a side thing, and I'm just mentioning Mashiach, let's say, like I said, halacha before that, about Eliyahu Hanavi. You're asking me a question. So I mentioned to you, when Mashiach's going to come, Eliyahu Hanavi is going to answer you that answer. But in that sentence, Gufa, I'm supposed to say, and Eliyahu Hanavi, Mashiach's going to come, going to answer the answer, and in Mirza Hashem is going to come very, very soon. Mashiach is not just when we daven to Hashem, or when we speak about Ad Mosai. Mashiach is in every single state of life. When we remind something that's connected to Mashiach, we have to mention, we want Mashiach now. We have to mention Al Tviyah. And like the famous Moshe the Frierdiker Rebbe brings, that when the kid wants the apple from his father, what does he do? He benches the bracha, and then his father has to give him the apple. Same thing, a Jew has to make Hashem push it in a way that Hashem has to give us Mashiach, and we cannot survive without it. And Hashem wants us to have a desire and to scream to Him, Ad Mosai, that we want Mashiach now. So the punchline is, not just when we mention Es Tzemach David Avdecha Meheres Atzmiach, not just when we mention Es Techazerna Ineinu. I speak about something that's going to be Lasid Lavi. We're speaking about Gemara. We're speaking about something that's going to be Lasid Lavi. We're speaking about, let's say, the halachis of Teruma Gdela, Ma'aserani, things that don't happen today, and they happen when Mashiach's going to come in the third temple, based on Mikdash is going to be built. I have to mention also, and Mirta Hashem, Mashiach's going to come very, very soon. So, and the Rebbe brings it out from Halacha in the Rambam. It's not a hergish, it's not a feeling, it's not a good thing that the Rebbe says about Mashiach that we have to believe in. For sure, everything the Rebbe says we have to believe in. I'm saying the Rebbe brings it out from Halacha in the Rambam. Chaim Livrache, we should strengthen our Tviyah. The more we learn Chassidus, the more we have a desire. We're really going to scream at Mosai from the depth of our heart. Chaim Livrache.
Right.